I think we can start. Yeah, let's start now. So as most of you probably knows, my name is Isabel. I'm the community coordinator for French Tech Seoul. And it is my pleasure to start this session with everyone. So just, I'm gonna be super brief and hand over the mic to our super MC of the day, Sabrina, and all our amazing speakers. So first of all, I'm so sad that I cannot meet today. So let's try our best to do this session online. So for those who don't know Zoom, let me just quickly go over the platform. So you have the chat that I see that already a lot of people are starting to put messages. You can just share out, say hi, ask any question in the chat. You also have at the bottom of your screen, you have a Q&A tool if you want to ask questions during the talk of everyone. We will be able to see it and then answer it at the end of the session. So don't hesitate to use those tools. And one thing that we want to try today is like we found out another online tool that would help us to basically try an online networking session as best as we can. So it's not on Zoom. It's another platform that is called AirMeet. So for certain technical issues, we have to do both platform today. So at the end of the session, I'm gonna share a link to you. And those of you who still has time and want to kind of network with everyone and try to speak with the speakers or between you, you're more than welcome to switch to that platform. I'm going to explain again everything at the end. And then we'll be able to meet there and talk again one-on-one with each other. So yeah, I think we can directly start. Mic is to you, Sabrina.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. Great to be here. So we are here tonight to talk about open innovation. I'm very lucky to have panelists that represent all parts of the ecosystem. So we have incubators represented, accelerators represented here with Danny at Orange Fab Asia. We have corporates here with Bonono from Samsung SDS. And then two representatives from startups, Robert at Alchera and Seongjun Kim from PiQuant. So before we start and jump into questions, I'd like to give everyone 1 minute to introduce themselves and what their company does, and then how your role kind of relates to open innovation. Let me start with Danny, then Robert, Bonono, and Seongjun in that order.
Hello, my name is Danny Sang-Yong-Han, representing Orange office in Seoul. Orange is a global telecommunication operator having a presence headquartered in France and presenting in the 27 countries in the world, including Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. I'm in charge of partnership with the local companies here, like telecom operators and the small and medium-sized companies. And also, I'm directing Orange Fab Asia, the startup acceleration program for global market development. So under the brand of Orange Fab Asia or Orange Fab Seoul, because we have a presence in Seoul, Tokyo, and Taipei in Asia. So we have 2 batches per year, and we had already 12 batches with 66 startups. So nice to meet you today, and hope we can have a fruitful discussion to help your business development. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Gray. So as an introduction, I'm actually a Californian, but I've lived in Asia since 2011. Spent some time in Korea, of course, and then China, Thailand, short time in Denmark, and then been back in Korea since 2017. I'm currently head of marketing and expansion at Alchera Inc. So we're a visual AI startup. We're Korea's #1 face recognition provider. We also do some interesting image recognition things such as early stage wildfire detection in California. How I've been really involved with open innovation is I've done a lot of programs through Plug and Play's open innovation, like Plug and Play Tech Center in Silicon Valley, a Houston batch, Japan, Indonesia, so kind of all over. And we've been very engaged with them, and that's been able to really help us get involved with large corporates overseas. And that's a big challenge as a Korean startup, is sometimes going abroad. And it's great because their open innovation platform brings together corporates and startups who are looking to work together. And it really helps those, it puts us directly in the path of corporations who are looking for startups to help them with, open innovation strategy, business development, investment opportunities. And it's been a big factor of Alchera focusing on, for example, the wildfire detection in the United States. Without open innovation, we may not have pursued that technology and launched that product.
Great. Bonono, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. I'm very glad and excited to be here with all of you guys. My name is Bonono. I'm Open Innovation Director at Samsung SDS. I've been with the company in Korea for almost 10 years now, doing innovation for the last 5 years. And before that, more involved in strategy and business development. So Samsung SDS is the digital arm of the Samsung Group, providing IT service and solution for the entirety of the group. And basically, the open innovation team is in charge of planning, executing, and maintaining the relationship between our businesses and the startup ecosystem and the technology ecosystem as a whole. So we have most of the presence here in Korea, but we also have people in US, UK, and Israel. And we are looking at startups and tech companies on a global scale. So we don't just like operate in Korea. We're looking for startup anywhere. So anyone from anywhere in the world is more than welcome to try and work with us.
Right, Seongjun, you're next.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Seongjun Kim. I'm a project manager at PiQuant. And at PiQuant, we develop customized solutions for components detection and analysis based on our unique spectroscopy technology. And we are collaborating with global partners in different industries, such as environmental quality analysis, food and beverage industry, and beauty industry. And as a project manager, my job is to plan, organize, and direct PiQuant's rapid water quality detector projects. And I'm very excited to be here with you here today. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's jump right into the questions. My first question goes to Bonono. I'm curious how you go about sourcing your startups. I'd like to know more about like what kind of services and technologies you are on the lookout for these days, and also how do you match that with the corresponding business needs on your side?
Yeah. So our sourcing strategy basically on one end align with our open innovation strategy, which is basically built around 3 pillars. So the first one is securing disruptive technology. The second one is more around identifying new business models. And the third one is to help our businesses develop into new markets. And on the other hand, our strategy is also aligned on the way that the company is organized. So as I was saying in the beginning, Samsung SDS is the digital arm of the Samsung Group. In that sense, we are providing 2 types of services. So on one end, we have the historic services, which are built around IT outsourcing and technology consulting. So those are services that we've been providing historically for the last 30 years to the whole Samsung Group. And on the other hand, based on everything that we build from the Samsung Group, we build platform and solutions that we organize in the following way. So on one end, we have technology platforms that we build around cloud, AI, big data, IoT, blockchain, security. And on the other hand, we have vertical platform and solutions that are more aligned on specific business line that we are specific markets and verticals that we are pursuing. And that includes retail, manufacturing, healthcare, logistics, and so on and so forth. And basically all those new business that we created over the last, that we've been, all those new platforms that we created over the last 5 years are basically the product of everything that we did for the group before that. And the way that we build our strategy basically is to rely on those businesses. So to give you an example in terms of actual outcome and deals that we've made over the last couple of years, when it comes, for example, to cloud, we've been looking into HPC, for example. When it comes to AI, we've been looking at things like edge computer vision. When it comes to logistics, right now I'm looking into e-commerce automation, warehouse automation, so robotics. And when if I give you some examples that about what we've done with our business line. So if I take, for example, retail, we've been looking into enabling indoor location services without having to rely on beacons. So basically what we did is that we identify a company that was providing geomagnetic-based indoor positioning in order to enable venue owner to think about like new ways to manage their venue and new type of business models. When it comes to, for example, what else? If I take like manufacturing, we've been looking into new approaches for predictive maintenance, for example, in what type of business model we could provide to other manufacturing companies to optimize the way that they were taking care of their assets. So in a very simple way, basically, if you look at our website and how our product and technology are organized, you will be able to have an overview of how we approach sourcing, which is basically aligning on all those areas that I just described.
All right, and that's a lot of verticals already. Just for one, I mean, SDS being only one company under the Samsung group, so that's already.
It's hard to describe it in 1 minute.
Sure, no problem. Okay, next, I'd like to ask Danny to tell us more about Orange Fab. You've given a quick overview in the introduction, but you know there's so many acceleration programs out there. I'd like to understand how Orange Fab Asia is different from those, and what could the startup expect from attending this program?
Okay, Orange Fab is the name of the program inside the company Orange. So it's a way to recruit some good innovations which can add value in our already existing product portfolio. So it's different from any other acceleration of programs, but we are not taking equity from the companies, but it's free of charge to join, and we are even supporting them for business travel and also some other expenses for the event we are organizing. So we have this Orange Fab in 18 countries in the world. That's really a good network in Europe and Africa. So if a startup join to our program, then if they'd like to advance in some countries where we have already footprints, then I'm also helping them to go to that market thanks to my colleagues already having operating Orange Fab over there. So and also, I'm welcoming startups from those other countries in our network. So, for instance, in the K-Startup Grand Challenge, where NIPA is organizing everywhere, there are already one company from Orange Fab Poland today. So, yeah, in fact, I'm looking for some innovative startups in the Korean market, and as my colleagues are looking for some innovation in their own market. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So Robert, you've been on the other side, right, as an accelerator program participant. So you've worked with those platforms. It would be interesting to hear your perspective on like what was your experience like, and you know, what would you recommend to startups, you know, considering using those platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I alluded to, I've spent a lot of time in the plug and play accelerator programs all over the world. And I haven't had as much experience with others or like with like corporate or CVC based accelerators. I've done some government based accelerators, which have been pretty good as well. If you're really looking to enter like a very specific niche market, sometimes working with the trade associations. I know Kocha runs kind of similar accelerator programs, Kita as well. As Danny mentioned, I think startups really like to look for like the no equity accelerators. However, things like Y Combinator stuff where they do take an equity stake, they maybe put a lot more effort into really helping you with soft landing and building, and they'll take care of all your like lawyers' expenses or anything like that, right? So finding a good mix of what's going to work for your company is really important. As I said, I really like the plug and play business model because if you really understand how they're making money, you can get a lot out of those programs. So the trick is really show that your startup has value for their corporate partners, because that's how they're going to continue to grow their portfolios, by getting more corporate partners in. So you'll get a lot of kind of extra treatment, special treatment maybe, or you'll get a lot out of the program if you have a very clear goal of what you're looking for. Like for us, I didn't get to explain this in the introduction. When we arrived at Plug and Play, we can see all their corporate partners. And so we could easily match like our use cases back in Korea with use cases here. And then we could pretty easily make a really strong presentation for those people who we're going to be able to meet, right? And meeting those kind of open innovation managers and kind of the insiders who are going to kind of champion your technology into their business lines and into their business units is really important. So that's the other thing I'd really recommend is find a champion in the accelerator who can kind of keep advocating on your behalf. And really, a lot of the guys you meet in the open acceleration programs and such, they're really internal problem solvers. So they're looking inside at all the different issues, and they may be able to find something that your technology can help them with. And then they're the ones who can really plug you in directly.
Okay, so your advice to really know what you want to get out of the program, be proactive about introductions and such.
Be very proactive. That's something that I've experienced. I've noticed a lot of companies, particularly from Korea, when we'd go to these accelerated programs together, they wouldn't maybe be as aggressive as they should be. Sometimes they wouldn't ask for something that they need. And I think in the open innovation platform, it's always about, it's always trying to create these win-win synergies. And more than likely, when you're asking for something or you're proposing a solution to somebody in that accelerator program, it's probably going to be beneficial for them as well. So you shouldn't be afraid to ask.
Great. I want to switch gears now to working with a large corporation as a startup. So my question is for Seongjun. How did you go about finding your corporate partners, since you've worked with several large organizations? And what are some of the lessons learned in working with corporates and organizations?
Yeah, PiQuant met these companies through many opportunities. There are international exhibitions such as MWC, CES, Next Rise in Korea. And also from the government events, the Korean government organizes many events to match startups with big companies. And also we had the chance to meet with them through the events organized by Kita, who are with us today. And these are great opportunities for startups to step up by having a chance to work with these big companies. And of course, you learn a lot during these collaborations. It is easy to be dazzled by the immediate opportunity that is present just in front of you, but we should try to stay calm and decide to not go beyond certain limits when negotiating. And also, we value our company's items very highly, and we try to resist to take some very tempting proposals. And I think that's one of the most important thing to do when cooperating with the big companies.
All right, so keeping in mind to be a tough negotiator even when the opportunity seems inviting.
Exactly.
So Bonono, you're on the other side. wondering so you look at a lot of the different verticals and a lot of different startups, but I'm sure there are very standardized ways that you engage with those startups, right? It could be a proof of concept or accelerating or investing. So how do you typically do that? And what advice would you give to a startup that wants to work with your company, whether it's Samsung or SDS or Samsung at large?
So overall, like when I compare my team to other open innovation team, I think that in terms of mindset and the way that we approach the job, we are very much deal oriented. Doesn't mean that we are transactional, but we are very much deal oriented in the sense that we want to have at the end some form of like contractual relationship with the company. That's something that's going to take 6 to 9 months. So for example, we don't do like open like design thinking workshop with the companies. Our goal is really to make sure that you work with our businesses and that we generate some form of positive outcome for you, whether it's through PR or whether it's through like an actual contract or through an investment. So we don't really have like a formal process. I guess the most like common way that things work is that first you're selected in the sense that whatever you're doing meets whatever we are thinking at a certain point in time. Those things change, it comes and go. So you have to make sure to always like ping us and make sure that we are aware of what you're doing. And the very first stage is the POC. So we won't do anything until we tested your technology, we played with it, we looked at it in a millions of different ways. That's something that's going to happen either with our internal team, engineering teams. Sometimes that's something that can happen directly with one of our customers who we are working with and on who we are working on an incoming proposal. And so that process usually is something that takes like in the best case scenario like 3 to 4 months, depending on the complexity of the technology that we are looking into. Following that, if that process is successful, then we usually have some like business negotiation. So it's either either we already have a customer and we are thinking about the type of agreement that we want to build with the company, or we don't have immediately a customer and we try to think about whether or not that's something that we put in our database, or whether we're going to spend the time to try and find find customers together. But overall, like the outcome is the outcome can be the outcome is threefold. So it's like either you end up, if you're a very early stage company, you can end up in our incubator. So we have like 3 companies, the 2 to 3 companies usually in our incubator. Right now we are welcoming like a blockchain company that is doing CPU for blockchain transactions, for example, that's going to stay in our incubator for 1 year, and work with our blockchain engineers. The second outcome can be like a partnership that's going to be materialized in the form of a commercial agreement. Can be distribution, like OEM distribution, can be white labeling, or it can also be just like a technical collaboration. And the last piece is going to be investment. So we have a fund that we started 5 years ago. That's $30 million now is going to be boosted to 50 million. Our sweet spot is Series A, but depending on the company that we are looking into, if it's linked to one of our business, it's going to be a bit more mature, closer to like BC. And if it's a company that we want to incubate, it can be in the seed stage. And basically that, I mean, the route to investment can be either through a company that we first incubated for a year and with whom we build some like commercial like business relationship, or through a company with which we started with a business agreement, can be like a distribution agreement in Korea or inside the Samsung Group, and then we invested with the company. So most of what we are expected to achieve are geared towards some form of like commercial agreement and investment. So that's why I was saying that we are very much like deal oriented and have a mindset that's closer to like a biz dev or like a corp dev department, as opposed to like a pure like open innovation department. So that's very practical, and I guess that just cultural and specific to Samsung and maybe like the large chaebols in Korea. And just to finish, like the value that we the value that we provide companies that are working with us is access to the Samsung Group. So Samsung Group is one of our big customers. That's a big chunk of our revenues. So we provide that access. We can help companies get access to the Korean market. And lastly, at the global level, we also do joint go-to-market. So if we have like a nascent startup with like not much like firepower in terms of biz dev, we can support you and help you with that.
Okay, so a lot of possible outcomes here with a focus on commercialization.
Yes.
But I guess the takeaway is that startups should be at a not too early stage, so to have in order to have a MVP and be able to give demo and
Yes.
POC.
Yeah.
And such.
Exactly. Yeah. It's either you're like you're among like the 2% in the world who can do what you do, and even though you're early stage, I mean, we cannot replace you with another company, or your business is mature enough so that we can go to business together, go to market together.
So Danny is coming in a lot earlier, right? So at Orange Fab Seoul, you screen a lot of startups. I'm curious what you look for in the applications. How do the successful applicants stand out to you?
Okay, in order to select the startups for our program, we are seeing the product development stage. So it has to be a minimum MVP level, so that it can be right away demonstrated once the discussion is started. And also we are seeing some competitors in outside of Korea. So I had many occasions bring some products to French market, but there are many competitors already. So yeah, I'm seeing that also that aspect. And most the important part is the fit with our current portfolio of business. So Orange as a telecom operator, having almost the same portfolio of business, you can see from KT or SK Telecom in Korea. We have mobile services, internet, IPTV, the game, and the content, and the events, and e-health, smart city, anything. So we are looking for some innovations which can be different from any other services available today, to have an innovative image of the company and to provide some innovative services to our clients. So those are the key aspects. And in terms of the items, so we are looking for artificial intelligence. They are all technical terminology, but AI for something we have already. So AI for our efficient customer support, AI for elderly, AI for something. So AI, 5G, big data, e-health, but we are not going too close to the health area. But we have just the e-health part we can do as a telecom operator, and also industrial solution and something like that. So you can imagine what you can propose to KT or SK Telecom. That's the product we are looking for, and you have to. I hope you can really assess before proposal your competitors in the global market first. Thank you.
Okay, so you're really looking for some strategic fit with your with Orange and your corporate network. Interesting. Moving on to have a question for Robert. So you worked with accelerators, but you've also worked with corporates before. So I'd like you to address the challenges and maybe some of the difficulties that you've had faced in working with those larger clients.
Sure. So yeah, especially in Korea, we've worked with pretty much all the major conglomerates all across the board. And this may not be true for all startups, but we're a very like technology heavy company, meaning we didn't really deploy like our own products initially, right? We're doing better at that these days. But so initially we have this technology and there's this big trade-off between like, the big contract that's potentially in front of us, which doesn't have much scale. It's going to be like a one-off project where we develop essentially a product for that company and then they take it. Or we develop our own product, which maybe has more scale potential or more potential in the market, right? And it's very much a difficult decision because it's like this short-term play versus very long-term play, and maybe a little bit less risky, maybe more risky, right? But this kind of does lead to some issues, right? So there's opportunity cost. A good example that we've had though is with a company in Japan, actually, who I did meet mostly through Plug and Play. So it's a Kajima Corporation, so one global construction company. And we found the right mix of like delivering them a solution that they needed right now. So it was very much like project-based. We would go through the POC, very similar to how Bonono described it. We did 3-month POC and then extended the contract. But the good thing was, it was fine for them that we, make like very customized version of this, but then we could also scale that out to maybe their competitors or other industries. It really became one of our first like SaaS model products built around our technology. And it was really great because it was kind of funded through this open innovation development with a large corporate, but they don't have any issue of us bringing it to market outside of them, right? A lot of our solutions that we've provided in Korea, if we go to a bank and we provide them, so something we're providing is like called Shinhan Face Pay. You'll be able to buy things at CU convenience stores just with your face if you have registered Shinhan bank card. For us to just take that and go to like KB really won't work out, right? There's going to be some exclusivity deals and those kind of things. So we need to be smart with where we invest our time and energy, because even though that may be a great project, it also just take away our engineering resources as well.
All right, so it's a difficult line to navigate between customization and productization and exclusivity demands, right? Another difficulty in working with corporates is, the somewhat inherently heavy process and slow decision making. So Seongjun, I'm curious, how are you able to deal with this kind of issue where B2B sales cycle is quite long, and a startup needs to be savvy about how to manage that, because otherwise you could maybe hit the end of your runway before getting any commercial traction.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the earlier question, actually, when you said tough negotiator, I meant tough on yourself. So for the startups, because it goes on also for this question. I think it is important for startups to not rely on one single opportunity with the company, because for the big company, it stays one single project among others. And if it does not give to a significant result, then there's no problem. But for the startups, it could cause serious problems, as you said. And PiQuant was lucky because as a high-tech company, it was less exhausting to find the R&D fund. And we still always try to do our best to not to spend the investment funds too quickly. And also to make the cash flow better, we are working with a trading company or an IoT platform company because they have standardized pay date and stable pay date. So for startup, stability of cash flow is very important, of course, and for the short and also for the long term, even though we sacrifice a bit of the margin when we work with them. So the most important thing is to build a capacity to endure a prolonged stressful situation until it gets to a result.
I think that's a very sound advice. So diversifying your potential pipeline and also sound management of your cash flows. So speaking of you know, inner workings of large corporations, I think the big conglomerates can appear as a bit of a black box. So my next question is for Bonono. I'd like you to shed some light on how things work, who are the stakeholders, what's the decision-making process. I think a lot of startups wondering how to approach a big conglomerate.
The short answer is they don't. But so in terms of decision-making process, we have one, but it's not really it's not crucial. Like, the most important thing is to make sure that there's a fit, and once there's a fit, either from the technology perspective or a business perspective, we are going to make the process work. It's really just a means to an end. When it comes to like working with, I'd say with Samsung in general, I guess the first advice that I would give is to not think that we have fluid communication across various teams, across various companies. That happens to some extent, but there can be a lot of missed opportunities if you don't try to use any type of channels or door that you can push or open. So, for example, if I look at the group like recent journey to innovation over the last 10 years, we started like three big innovation team on the consumer side. There was Samsung Next, that building the software ecosystem around the consumer devices. On the semiconductor side, you have Samsung SSIC strategy and innovation center. That's looking into things around like self-driving cars, etc., like robotics. And Samsung SDS, which is more like the B2B side, we started that like 5 years ago. And there is a lot of overlap in terms of areas that we are covering. We are all looking into AI. We are all looking into cloud, into security. We are all looking into retail to some extent. We are looking into like data, like data business model in general. And there is, I think, like a lot of like there can be a lot of missed opportunity if you really don't knock at all the doors. So either basically like either knock at all the doors if you can, or just like once you have a contact, just like ask internally for an introduction to other teams or to other innovation team or to other venture teams, because there can be another opportunity that's waiting for you on the other side if the first contact was not if there was not a perfect match with the first contact. So that's the first thing, really, like decentralized approach to our companies. The second thing I'd say is to make sure that you keep us updated about the progress of your company. There can be some like major like investment. We can have some major customer, or just on our side, like a lot of times it's just a matter of timing. And we see that all the time, where like a need comes up, and that's a company with whom we spoke like a year ago or 6 months or 6 months ago, and it was just like not the right time to engage with us. So make sure like to just like ping us on a regular basis. If obviously like something happened, but even if just nothing happened, just to check whether our priorities have been updated. And I guess the last piece I would say is just to try. I mean, I know it's not simple from the outside, but to try and understand the business of each company. I mean, at least Samsung SDS over the last couple of years, we've done a better job in terms of marketing, at explaining in more detail and in English what we do on the corporate website, and we also customize the website for each region. So if you look at the website of SDS America, it's slightly different in terms of product and solution that we are pushing than the one that you will find for the global website or for Korea, for example. So I think that's also like a good source of information, so that you're not completely lost and make us feel that you're shooting in the dark when you reach out to us, that you already have an idea about how to position yourself, how to talk to us, what could be the potential areas that we are looking into, because we released, we had a press release regarding a partnership that we did recently. So I think, yeah, if you do like those three things, you are like in a good shape to kickstart like a potentially a good relationship with us.
Good. So research is key. Keeping your mind share through updates, getting warm introductions to other parts of Samsung. All these interesting. Yeah. Good advice.
Be aggressive.
Don't take no for an answer. Essentially.
Pretty much.
All right. So Danny, on your side, connecting startups with large corporations is a big part of the value add from your program. So how do you ensure that you connect the startups with the right potential clients, and how do you try to ensure that those collaborations are successful in the long run beyond the initial introduction?
Yeah, in fact, I totally agree with what Bonono shared. So the contacting a big corporate is a very important part of startup scale up their business. And what I'd like to ask is that when you before contacting the companies, you'd better have a look what is their activities and what kind of products they have, and you'd better prepare just pitch what you have, but you can prepare some kind of proposal. Okay, so because of you have this product, but if you use our product, then you can enrich your product this way, and it will be very, very unique in the market, and you'll make your client happy. So it has to be a kind of the proposal. So I'm all the time having update of the business unit activities from my colleagues and from our internal exchange or webinar or something like that. We are having almost every day a webinar or seminar or whatever. So I'm quite updated with that, and I'm kind of going through my colleagues in France or in other countries to be introduced to a right person. And also we have different stakeholders, so even though there are one unique project available, and there are lots of duplicated projects inside. And lots of people who are involved in open innovation. I don't know even name all of them. So sometimes going through a right path is the key for me, and that's in fact that's my job. And through that, sometimes I push this innovation to this stakeholder and another stakeholder. So having a common sense in between three of them, then I'm kind of connecting them. Okay, why don't you create this type of a project so that you can benefit for you this part, for you this part, and for you this part. So big companies, they have as they have quite a unique KPI set already beginning of the year. So moving a business unit is not so easy, and they have a quite a unique area what they are really focusing on. So in fact, I brought one very interesting innovation, which is a 4D replay, which has been demonstrated by a France Television Lab during Bastille Day, which is a French Revolution Day in March in Champs-Élysées. So they shoot that march by that 4D replay solution, and they a little bit broadcasted part. So I also brought them to Roland Garros French tennis match, but because of their priority was in a different area, so they couldn't right away take that into the event. But we are still keep trying with it. Our B2B business unit is distributing a 4D display solution in European countries now, and also I brought dot braille smartwatch for visually impaired people, and in fact it took almost 4 years to bring it to France, because some people was not really interested, but one people interested in, but they couldn't create a new project. So they came back to me again and again or something like that. And finally, I found one guy who can really push that innovation into business. So finally, we are selling that in French market.
So essentially being a champion for all these startups and like being persistent on their behalf. Amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing 4D replay in next French Open. I only have like a couple more questions left, but I also want to keep maybe 10 minutes or so from Q&As from the audience. So during the next 5 minutes, I'd like the audience to start typing in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen if they want to ask something to our speakers. So Robert, one more question for you. So we've talked about, you know, working with big corporations as mainly as a way to get sales, but that's not all about that, right? It's also a good seal of approval to attract more potential clients. So you seem to have some experience in getting promotions out of those collaborations. So do you have any tips for our audience on how to get the best out of working with a big client?
I wish I had more tips on this, because that's some trouble we have, especially in Korea, right? And I know some pretty successful startups who would give 10% discounts, like massive discounts on $1 million projects just for some PR from their client. Some companies have like they have a policy that says we don't do PR. If we utilize some startup technology or innovation, it's going to come under our name, or we're not going to release the information. I think Apple has a pretty strict policy, for example. In Korea, applications that everyone in this room use, or services that you guys have used or seen, could be from our company, but our client is quite strict about making sure that it looks like it's their innovation or their solution, even though of course it is, their product is marketed by them, it's brought to market by them. So that's kind of been difficult for us. In Japan with Kajima, they were quite open. I think the best tip I have is just really trying to frame this as like a win-win, right? How can this solution from a PR aspect, show that they're being innovative? Like we're speaking with, Danny and Bonono from corporate accelerators, right? Which is great because they seem to have a bit more of an open policy about this and showing off that their company is very open and innovative. But that's not the case for all companies you will meet through open innovation platforms, right? Such as Plug and Play or Y Combinator. There's going to be big corporates coming through that you get to work with, but they are there just to get the innovations, but not really to promote that they're doing open innovation. And I think part of what you can try to do is frame this as, look how innovative our company is. Look how we're maybe trying to help people. Look how we're trying to save lives, whatever it may be. A really good example of this, which we haven't gotten the PR yet, right? We're still in that B2B conversation. With PG&E, we're trying to provide wildfire detection for them, and it could be in the future that they provide our service for their customers because they already have to provide cameras, for example. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with the California utility market, but PG&E is the largest utility in California, and they've literally been on fire, starting fires in California. They had like a $5.2 billion lawsuit. They fired their whole board and everything. So we see that, our solution is solving this problem like financially, but this could also be a very important PR play. So maybe that's another way, just how you frame the question. And of course you have to ask, right? And it may be due to some revenue, but it's up to your startup. What's more important, right? Do you really need that PR in order to help go and capture other large corporate logos, or is it not important? Is it fine to just stay in the back? It really depends on your business model, I think.
Very interesting to hear the trade-offs. I get when you're doing a white label, it's not always a win for the other company, right? So you have to be kind of sensitive about that. My last question before we go into opening to the audience is for Seongjun. So since you're the last to chip in today, I would like to give you the floor to give us any examples of success cases and that you've had in working with big companies. Any stories that you want to feature today?
Yeah, we do have some stories to share, even though we cannot share the names of the companies. We have some ongoing collaborations in different sectors. For our indoor air quality monitoring solution, we are collaborating with a well-known telecommunication company that regroups different IoT solutions for the biggest postnatal care service center in Korea. And we are installing the solution in all the branches of the brand to take care of the mother and the newborn. We also have a global trading company in an air purifier manufacturer that we are collaborating with. And we are installing our solution that is an automatized air quality monitoring and purifying solution in different locations such as schools, public places, bus stations, etc. And for the same air quality monitoring device, we are also working with a global antenna company to build an automatized air ventilation and quality management system in their smart factories in Vietnam. And we also have some collaborations ongoing in different sectors. In the food and beverage industry and beauty industry, we are at an R&D and also a POC stage. And I cannot share them now, but I would be very happy to share them in a few months. Thank you.
Very impressive. So we'll be staying tuned for more good news from you then.
Thank you.
So there's a question from Isabel for either Bonono or Danny, whoever wants to take it. We talked about corporate relations with already existing startups. What about creating spin-offs from corporates and pushing them outside as startups?
Okay, maybe I can answer this point from our company perspective. We have the same problem than CREP. So if there is any the employees who would like to create their own startup, then we support them with some seed funding, and also for their company or management for up to 2 years. And if they fail, then they even come back to the company. In fact, those kind of things are the initiative from the human resources, in my understanding. And another interesting project is when there is an interesting startup who would like to collaborate with us, and we started one project, but they are lack of resources. Then we help with our internal employees. Okay, if there is any right position, so the startup can utilize for their product development or for marketing or something, then we match our employees to the startup, and they are really working within the startup for a certain period of time. So yeah, we are really encouraging people to create their own startup by supporting some financial.
So there is a proper framework for that. Maybe Bonono, I think there is also, right, at SDS framework for, or at least there was at the time that I was there. There's a seed lab.
It's still there. So yeah, so we have a program called the seed lab with an X, not an S. Which is basically like an incubation program for employees, and so that's something that rotates like on the yearly basis. So we take application, like review the application, and select a bunch of promising projects to put in the incubator. And so the idea of this incubator obviously is to like graduate the companies. So the most recent successful example is a company called Wellisis that's doing an ECG sensor. And Sabrina, you know that company very well.
Yep, that was my old team at Samsung SDS, and they just raised their
And
Series A. So congrats to
yes,
them.
and so typically, we take equity in the company. We also guarantee the employees to come back to Samsung, so that they are not completely out of the company once even once they graduate. And obviously, like, because of the level of the diversification and the size of the Samsung group, there is also like a big opportunity while in the incubator to just like test the idea with like other Samsung companies, if that makes sense given the product that the teams are building. Most companies obviously want to test like the external market, but there is this possibility as well, which kind of like makes it like a safe space to start like testing product market fit, and just like build the best conditions for success for each venture. So we have that program, and we also have something that's starting to happen. But as investors, we also have the opportunity to become to be on the board of the companies that we invest in. So usually that's something that our venture arm is taking care of. But we're trying to push for more of the people who have been involved from the beginning to the end into the deal to have a chance to be on the board of the company, and ensure that we have some form of like post-deal management process to make sure that the relationship with the company is executed as it's supposed to be. When we signed the partnership, or we made the investment. So we have those two avenues, but the biggest avenue is that incubation program for employees.
Okay. All right. So we have a question from Joshua for Danny and Bonono again. For when it comes to understanding MNC's pain points, specifically Orange Telco Operator Network and the Samsung ecosystem, should we focus on only solving one specific pain point using our solution, or may it be possible to engage in a larger deal which solves more than one pain point, which may also help other subsidiaries and supply chain partners? Also, in Korea, are large implementations broken down into multiple phases? So phase 1 POC, phase 2 working MVP, phase 3 company-wide global scale, as we have experienced in the EU and the Australian markets. So a long question. Who wants to take it?
Maybe I can answer shortly upfront by me first.
We
Okay,
have
so
1 minute.
okay, so yeah, yeah, it's better to have like a pointer, just one simple thing, okay, rather than having like a bigger solution that can solve many different issues, because of each regarded as our core solution we have to really own. So it really takes time, and we are living that really in detail by many different people. So it will take time, and there might be a lot of competition already existing. So it will be a real pain for startup to survive during the moment, like 6 months or 1 year, more than that, and without any result. And at the end, if they are not selected, then it's a real pity.
Yeah, so be good at one thing right early on, and then make get some traction, and then make the product more complex as time goes. Awesome. We are all out of time, so I'm going to give the mic back to Isabel, and then she will explain how to move on to the next stage for those who want to stick around for the networking. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to our speakers today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. So it's not done yet. For those who wants to, please don't leave if you want. So as I said in the beginning, we